All right, everybody. We got CryptoRick back on with us today, and we are going to go ahead and talk about what he's been up to and all the latest things in crypto, including BSV and all the other tokens or the woo woo the sides that he's really studying and specializing in. So we're super glad to have you back, man. Good to see you, Rick. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Gavin. Nice to see you again. Nice to join back again. It's good to be here. Thank you.
People have been asking a lot about you, so it's super exciting to have you back on. And so I kind of set this meeting for 30 minutes, so we're going to do our best to knock it out in 30 minutes and get all the juicy stuff from you as much as possible. Yesterday I had Matt Walsh on, Age of Aquarius. He talked a lot about these other coins that he's really into, including XPR. Some of the stuff that you showed him. So what's on your radar right now? I mean, I guess first and foremost, can we start with the Craig Wright case? Because as you know, the court said he wasn't Satoshi, he was a fraud. Now he's got an application for appeal going on. So why don't we start with that? What are your thoughts on what's going on with Dr. Wright?
Yeah, look, so last year, I think I tweeted, or earlier this year, that it could possibly go to a appeal. And we know that that was likely, that was always on the cards because that's how Craig won his other case, with the Kleiman case. And look, I'm not a lawyer, but the way that I perceive that the law structure works is that the Court of Appeals is one of the highest levels of court. And that once the appeal comes down, like once the ruling comes down, it's binding. So whether they overturn it or keep it, it's basically the end straw. So like I mentioned before, this was probably always going to go to an appeal because they don't want anyone challenging it in the future. And they don't want any possibility that it could then proceed to an appeal later on. So they're basically exhausting their legal options now so that they have full regulatory clarity prior to dispatching the new system. So I think it's just going to be a rehash of the Kleiman case where Craig Wright basically appeals and wins. And once that occurs, you will see probably XApp quickly jump onto the bandwagon. You'll probably see Donald Trump jump on the bandwagon. And, in my head, I can just picture Craig Wright shaking Donald Trump's hand and Donald Trump being like, this is the Bitcoin that America wants. It's legal Bitcoin. So this is from what I hear scalable. So and I could just picture that kind of narrative coming along. Of course, we talked about in your previous episode, Gavin, uh, Bitcoin being rebranded to Bitcoin X, and we saw significant, I guess, esoteric proof that that will be it, and not just Bitcoin, but most coins will have that X marketing. Um, so, I can see Elon using the X app as a kind of banking platform with Bitcoin X, aka the BSV Teranode token, as collateral. And then what you mentioned before, which was XPR and Proton loan being, borrowing type coins used to, have a agnostic cross-border settlement coin. And yeah, they will say that this bypasses the central banks, which obviously doesn't, because this is set up by the central banks. All these people involved with XApp and the NChain and Elon Musk and all those kinds of people, they're all from the establishment. They obviously want to portray to the public that they're not, that they're fighting for the freedoms or whatever, that they're building this decentralized system. But of course, this is all baloney, and they want to make it exciting for you to join this new system. Donald Trump is going to say he defeated the central bankers. He honored JFK and all this stuff, and they're gonna make a big meal out of it. And you just sit back and enjoy the theater, I guess. We both know that this is well, I know anyway, that this is all part of the plan. And there's certainly no white hats or anything. There's no, benevolent people. There's a quote which says, at the highest levels of finance, there's scarcely a benevolent person, because when you get to that level of finance where you're dealing with central banks, new currency, legal tender, this is just the system renewing itself, because the old system was collapsing, and they had to quickly get people onto another system before we learned how to barter and look after each other in a community. So people were realizing that the dollar was going bad, and inflation, and the cost of living. And naturally, as humans, what people tend to do is they tend to exit the system, the 9 to 5 grind. They then go to some rural area, country area. They then say, you know what, I can't afford the cost of living. I'm just gonna, go all natural. They then start to, make their own eggs, have their own chickens, and blah blah blah. And if they need something, they just barter with their neighbor. The system doesn't want that. The system doesn't want that, because you can't control people that do that. It's like the Amish people. It's like, what are you going to do? So in order to ensure a smooth transition onto the next slavery system, which are central bank digital currencies, they have to do it quickly, and they have to do it smoothly, and they have to do it enticingly. And so the way that they're going to entice people is to say, oh, this doesn't involve the central bankers. Oh, this doesn't, like, we've cut them out, we've defeated them, we've killed them off. Look at these rich people selling off their houses. That means they're. No, the reason they're selling their houses is because they're relocating because of other type things like the pole reversals. They're relocating because those areas are probably going to be affected by floods and earthquakes. So you have to look deep into the narrative, and there's a lot of this psyop going on. And look, I believe that at one stage, that there were these people doing what's best for humanity, the so-called white hats and QAnon. But as you actually look into it, Donald Trump is as establishment as Joe Biden, as is Kamala Harris. They're all just puppets, on the world stage. And we predicted, what they were going to do. Even that guy predicted what he was going to do, because it's all pre-planned. And yeah.
Well, it sounds like a heck of a narrative, Rick, and I appreciate you dropping all that information on everybody as an introduction here. So, and the Craig Wright stuff. So now, when we talk about your tweets and all the things you've been writing lately, you talked about BSV in the past being like a base layer. Then, you're talking about XRP and XPR and these other tokens. But I remember you saying you used to be in the XRP army, and then, you realize more about it. So what the heck is going on with these coins, man? I mean, where do people start who are no coiners, or just kind of looking for some guidance on what to follow if they're looking for a long-term play,
Mm. The first thing that I would recommend for people is to basically follow the regulations. Look for the coins that in your mind you can foresee will get legal clarity. The second thing is follow the quantum trail. So in my channel, I talk a lot about how, banks are not going to deploy trillions of dollars in non-quantum coins or non-quantum systems. So I have this jokingly, this quote that I created. It's a modification of Warren Buffett's quote, which is money will flow from the impatient to the patient. My version is money will flow from non-quantum systems into quantum systems. So there's absolutely no chance that banks are going to use currencies, right, that are non-quantum secure. We know BSV has the SHA, security. Craig Wright unofficially in some of his blog posts basically alluded to the fact that Bitcoin is quantum secured. I presume it is. And there are other coins. So as an example, there's Nexus token, which uses Falcon quantum resistance. There's QRL quantum resistant ledger. There's XX network, who was created by the father of cryptography, David Shom, who also invented eCash. And these dates actually precede Craig Wright's time. So technically, David Shom actually preceded Craig with, eCash, and that he didn't develop Bitcoin, but he developed kind of the precursor technology. So for people obviously looking, you can also start with Proton. Proton's a good one to look into. So Proton Loan is the first regulated loan product. It's got on-chain KYC, AML, and Metal blockchain, which has a lot of banking partnerships. Now, the reason initially I started off with in the XRP army was because naturally you're looking for, when you first start out, you're looking for what the banks are going to go into. Because of course, we all want to be winners, no one wants to be a loser. So you follow where the banks go. And Ripple purportedly had a number of partnerships. So then over the years, you start to, like, they keep announcing partnerships, but nothing really changes with the coin. And you're like, something's very wrong here, right? Like, something's very wrong. Like, surely this announcement should have just sent it sky high. Yeah, it didn't happen.
And was that around the time that you reached out to Craig Wright? That you're like, hey, what's going on? And then
Absolutely. So yeah, that was basically when I was skeptical, it was about that time that I crossed paths with Craig Wright. The thing is, we just have to be careful, because a lot of companies will present themselves as like scammy so that you don't invest in it. And then a lot of times they will try and be overly attractive and shiny, but then they are trying to scam you. So it's a balance between, is this a kind of deliberate, obfuscation, or is this, so I think, how I got into Proton was basically finding out that Ripple were behind Proton, but kind of like secretly.
Well, what did Craig Wright say about the XRP or the Ripple on your interview specifically? Remember, you asked him about that. He met someone at a dinner. What was that specifically that he said?
Yeah, so I asked him his thoughts on XRP, and he said, "Yeah, it's a scam, whatever." He said he met with the SBI Holdings CEO guy, Kital San, I think his name was, and purportedly asked him, why are you in XRP? And he basically said it's just to dump and make money. But here's where I kind of, just using my own thinking. Initially, sure, you can dump the coin, but eventually they could just do a 180 and basically send it. But just so you know, I'm not a 100% fan of XRP. I'm a fan of XPR. So basically what the elites did is they flipped it on people. They said, XRP is the one, XRP is the one. But through the laws of inversion, they actually inverted it to XPR. And there's actually another coin called XPR, which is Proton. Proton is the base matter of all, reality. Everything in theory has a proton. And its numerology was immaculate when I looked into it. So I think that one was kind of supposed to be the bait and switch, and the other one is going to be the quiet one that's going to emerge. So I guess the majority of your audiences are BSV maxis, right? But in this, you have to look at it as a whole. This system that's rising is more than just BSV. BSV will play a crucial role, and so will Teranode. But the audience has to be more open-minded. There's more pieces to this puzzle than just BSV. There has to be some sort of lending product. You're not going to lend out BSV because the supply is not much. So you need to have a lending product. And then on top of that, you'll need to have just a standard, quantum exchange system. You got to have all these other systems built on top of it. You need to have a DEX, you need to have all these kinds of things. So whilst BSV is great, it can't do every purpose. Its purpose is mainly just a collateral, digital gold, whatever you want to call it, and basically link that to other products. And this is where I delineate Teranode and BSV. It's unclear if they're the same thing. At the moment, they're saying it's the same thing, but we don't know if Teranode is its own system and BSV network is somehow built on top of it, or is Teranode BSV network, or is it the network but not the token? Do you need the token to use Teranode? They say it's in the lab, but then they're saying we're using it now. But how is it that we're using it now if it's in the lab? So like all these questions, like most people in your audience will say, no, like BSV is Teranode. But then that means we are using Teranode now. And if we're using it now, then it's not experimental. But then NChain keeps saying, no, but it's in the lab. We just reached whatever million TPS. So if it's in the lab, it means it's not BSV network. Does that make sense? It's a nuanced, it's a nuanced argument here.
I mean, yeah, it can't be on the BSV blockchain yet, right? Because that's what doesn't make any sense. I mean, if they're doing 1 million transactions a second, we would be able to see the transactions on the blockchain.
There you go. So something is going on. Whether they're going to attach BSV onto Teranode, or whether they're going to completely dupe us and have another token for Teranode, or whether they're going to have every blockchain on Teranode is yet to be seen. But all I can tell you is the elites are not just going to let you hold a coin and then you become rich. No way. So there's various ways they trap people through wallets, and we discussed this in our last occasion.
Oh, yeah.
How?
Yeah. Let me just summarize. That was how you mentioned using the Electrum SV. And I found something that Gregory Ward built. It was, I wish I could find the website now. I don't remember offhand, but he basically built something that extracts the master private key from the blockchain itself. It extracts it with the software. And so you can pull it out if you hold it in a wallet. You don't have to go and do Electrum SV because it's super confusing to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's important to get the actual, what's called the master private key.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Basically not your keys, not your crypto. Most will give you seed phrases, but we're already seeing the anti-seed phrase movement. There's some predictive programming articles that are coming out saying a 12-word seed phrase is already not secure because it takes a quantum computer 5 minutes to hack it. So at the minimum has to be a 24 seed phrase. Even then, the type of seed phrase and whether it's protected by a quantum cloud are all important considerations. So sure, you can have software later on that can extract master private keys, but then you're adding a counterparty risk because now you're trusting a software to basically access your master private key. There's no guarantees that software won't store it or send it somewhere. Of course, you could say the same thing about Electrum SV, but when I looked into Electrum SV, I think they use an open MIT license, and there's also Electrum SV with like there's Electrum ABC for eCash. There's Electrum SV. There's regular Electrum for BTC, and then there's Electrum SV for BSV. So it just seems like that's the one to go. Not to say that that's the final step. I'm sure they're going to have another final step where you somehow have to move it somewhere else. But for now, that appears to be the most robust way to store your private keys. The other options, like most people have theirs on CentB or, Handcash or, Rock Wallet, I know is a favorite of people. But Rock Wallet doesn't actually give you a master private key. And they only give you one account, one KYC account. So if you try and KYC another account, they say sorry.
Or just to plug the Orange Gateway as well. They're a new exchange out of Iceland. And I gotta say, I've only just recently got into them, so but Iceland is like that's a thumbs up for me because of what happened in the financial crisis. That's the only country that kicked the bankers out of after what happened. So thumbs up for those guys. You mentioned
Sure.
the importance of KYC, and that's just so opposite of other stuff I've ever heard. So can you elaborate on why it's important to do the KYC?
Sure. So most people in crypto don't want KYC. Um, and none of all of us want anonymous money, right? But the elites didn't put, billions in development so that we could walk around exchanging money freely without no consequences. The plan was always to start off with non-KYC, make it look like it's some decentralized freedom movement. Then when the time is mature, they will bring a problem. So problem reaction solution, they'll create a problem so that the end solution was, well, had we had KYC, we could have done XYZ. So a classic example is they will rob your wallet, and they've got 100 guys in the NSA to do that. So it's very easy for them. They'll rob your wallet, and then they'll say, oh, there's no KYC. Sorry, we can't actually track who this guy that took your money is. But, oh, if you did have KYC, we could have returned the money back to you. It's such a shame you didn't KYC. The other thing is when the EMP strikes, so we know it's coming because it's been, again, in the predictive programming, everyone's going to lose their wallets, and then they're going to pass a rule to say, well, if you can't prove it, it's not yours. Because think about it, like there's going to be chaos, there's going to be looting, people are going to be stealing stuff. Someone could easily break in and steal your keys, whatever. And then because of that, they're going to say, well, the law, and Craig Wright said this, the law will only recognize if your wallet is legal, like the amount in that legal, if you have it KYC'd, and any undeclared movement of coins greater than 10,000 basically is deemed like black money. And that's the way that they're going to set it up in the future, is they're going to say, oh, you moved the coins from non-KYC to non-KYC greater than 10,000. You've just money laundered. You've just moved illegal money. And they will have systems where, once the system detects this, they could either freeze that amount, keep it on hold. They could even burn it back, claw it back. There's infinite ways with the system that they could actually backdoor you. And they because they created the system, they could easily do that. So my push for people to KYC is not because I like it, right? It's a necessary evil. And I always say to people, if you want to defeat the beast, you have to ride the beast. You can't face the beast and think you're smarter. You can't fight the beast and think you're going to slay the dragon. You can't, they've been working on this 50 plus years. And the first thing on their agenda was how to stop people fighting back from it. So that's how they designed the system. So you have to defeat it by riding it, not by fighting it. So if you, in theory, get in early, secure your stuff, have it KYC'd, and if you can't KYC, at least register your keys with a solicitor or a notary. Once you have your key linked to your identity, that's yours. And you can use that to, for instance, not be as persecuted in the future. So Craig Wright, this whole Craig Wright trial, like I said to you in previous, this is not about Craig Wright, Satoshi, and all this is all the smoke screen that they want to put to people. The real reason he refuses to sign with the PGP or refuse to sign the Satoshi wallets or blocks is very simple. If he signs, he creates a legal precedent to say, I don't need to show you my identity. I could just sign and that's sufficient. So in the future, they don't want people doing that. They don't want people giving their keys to their granny and saying, hey, just sign for me. Oh, she signed it, not me. I didn't sign it. So they to reduce that loophole, they will make you KYC first. And then once you KYC and register on chain, then you sign, and then that's now yours. So every time you sign, it will be with your digital ID. Nowadays, they're already moving to what's called Ocular scan or Face ID. And Proton already has this, which shows you that this is already happening. This is not theoretical or conspiracy. For Proton, when you go to their WebAuth wallet, it asks you to do a selfie Face ID, and it scans your face and then logs you in that way, or you use your thumbprint. But then later, they're going to come out with the Ocular scan, where you actually need to scan your eye, like in the Mission Impossible, movies. So in the future, and I'll say this very clearly, in the future, it's going to be impossible to sign under someone else's identity, because you can't take a wallet that's registered to you and then get your granny's eyeball and say, okay, scan complete. It's going to be your eyeball, your Face ID, your thumbprint, and it's going to be inescapable. And the reason they want to do this is because, let's say your credit score is bad. They don't want you going to your granny who's got a perfect credit score and then being like, hey, granny, can you sign this transaction for me? It's going to be basically every man for himself. Even as you pass through shopping stores or whatever, they're going to have barriers and you need to have the green tick or whatever. And the system will automatically detect through AI that, Gavin's coming through. So you, for instance, can't put your granny in front of you and get her to walk and then you walk behind her, kind of thing. The system's going to be so bad, that it's going to be set up so that if you don't have the check mark, you won't be able to do nothing. And
So
that's
how do we the regular people capitalize on this information, Rick? It sounds like with all your opinion, this is where it's going. So is it by getting not apparently XPR has got all this high tech stuff that you're talking about, and Proton, I guess you're calling it. I haven't heard about so much high tech stuff on Ripple. Apparently they're not doing, or I'm sorry, on XRP.
Yeah.
I tried it, wasn't really doing much.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. It's a bait and switch. So
Yeah.
the real XRP was XPR. They just flipped the letters around.
So you're
So
saying it's super high tech. They got all this cool stuff. I mean, not cool, but KYC, Face ID.
absolutely. They have KYC. They've got a fully regulated loan product, which is like Compound or Maker, but compliant. They have the Office of the Comptroller on their team. Marshall Hayner, the CEO, actually helped pass the cryptocurrency bill in Senate. Furthermore, we know that they actually have links to Elon and Jed McCaleb. They have a feeless blockchain, so you don't pay any fees. They have @names as your wallet. So instead of having send to, Ox312458, you could just have send to @Gavin, and then it sends it to your wallet. So you actually can register. You can actually register your wallet under a name, and that name becomes the wallet address, like the long string. It replaces the long string of alphanumerical.
And so what it sounds like, well, people have been saying XRP was going to go up to the moon a long time ago, but it never seemed to happen for those people, or for whatever reason. So what's the status with this other thing, XPR and Proton? I mean, has it already shot up to the moon, and is it too late? What's the deal with that?
It's certainly not too late, but I would say the time is running out because Elon's already going to make his announcement for X payments. We know that a lot of predictive programming, like even this monkeypox thing, MP, and Proton has Metal Pay MP. So they're already pushing it out there. But what I'm saying is, this obviously no one knows the time, when these assets will become unobtainable. But we, through the numerology, but also through the technology, we could see that this is likely Ripple's true hidden ace is
So
that
do you know if Ripple's behind XPR and Proton? Certain for sure.
um there's obviously no documents
Oh,
because it hasn't been announced yet. But firstly, the numerology, and number two, the
oh,
association.
so it's
So that
secret.
it's a secret.
So Matt Welsh said that I
Yeah,
didn't
it's a
know that.
secret.
So Matt Welsh said that there were some really big players. I don't know what his name was behind the XPR Proton. That I mean, they're super serious.
Oh yes, yes. So the royal families, and I'm not talking about the ones in UK. I'm talking about the ones behind those guys. They're the ones behind this new system, but they put it in very subtly into even TV shows like The Big Bang Theory. When you watch it, in between the scenes, they have that big proton sign that's like, vroom. And then in The Simpsons, it begins, The Simpsons, the first thing you see is the proton on the nuclear reactor. So that's another story, is that Proton will likely resurrect once the nuclear war begins. So it's all coded in that, Homer works at the nuclear power plant. So there's this kind of nuclear type programming coming through. Even in the Olympics, they had the Turkish guy with the gun basically saying Turkey's about to enter the war. We have Ray Gunn, the breakdancer from Australia, already implanting people with the concept of plasma ray guns. So this is all, I guess, coordinated as predictive programming to prepare our minds for what's about to come. So yes, for people in the BSV community that are looking into sound technology to compliant things, look into Proton Loan, look into Proton, use the WebAuth app, use the Anchor app, and have a try for yourself and see what you find there. Look at the quantum systems like Nexus, XX network, QRL, a couple of those quantum systems. And then for other smart tokenizations, look into Corium and Xcore. They're currently experimenting with AI type things like Pulsera, Sarah AI. So Sarah will be the new Siri. And they already have this thing called Sarah AI, which is this kind of robot that you talk to and gives you all sorts of health advice. And they're going to plan to create not just a DEX, but a DAX. So DEXs are 2000 technology. Like the new thing on the market now is what we call a DAX. So a DAX is decentralized autonomous exchanges. So they're actually AI DEXs that feed through IoT data, Internet of Things. They could feed in liquidity paths everywhere. And they basically calculate the most efficient way to get the best liquidity pathway, etc. And so that's what's, again, another secret is the DAX, the Decentralized Autonomous Exchange. And there's only one project that is currently doing that, and that's the Pulsera Corium. And Corium has links with Ripple. So it's not just about XRP, it's about what other coins are Ripple indirectly funding or involved with. And one of those is the Sarah token, Pulsera, and the Corium token. So more stuff for your audience to look into.
So it sounds like one of these are going to be maybe one or all are going to be a CBDC token, or is there going to be a government token, like a one world currency, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think they will have a one world token. My estimation is that it's going to be WorldCoin. The name just sounds so relatable. It's like WorldCoin. It's like I could go to any place in the world and accept WorldCoin. It could, in theory, be Bitcoin because Bitcoin's a recognizable name any country you go to. It could be Proton. No one really knows. It could be the Lumens. I've seen a lot of people say XLM, the Lumens, the Lucius Trust, all that possible. But whatever the coin is going to be, it's going to be very relatable or easily like programmable that, oh, well, world coin. This just should be accepted in any country. And yeah, so I think there will be a world coin, but I think we're still possibly far away from that yet. Um, I think we still have a lot more agendas that need to play out before we get to that stage. But you know,
I had Reggie Middleton on today on my show on X on a space, and he was the guy that did Veritasium. He's got a bunch of patents and lawsuits he's been involved in, and so I'm wondering about if you have any comments on him, and also the NChain patent portfolio on. So yeah, start with Reggie. You seem to be smiling about that. So what are your thoughts on that to start with?
I was waiting for this question, actually.
All right, here we go. Let's hear
I'm
it,
glad
Reg.
you brought it up. Look, no disrespect to the guy. But just saying what I think. I think he's you know, he's in on it, right? Um, basically, the Reggie has been quiet all these years about BSV, and he knows patents, he knows blockchains. He should have easily announced this 6 years ago and said, "Oh, from what I can see, BSV's XYZ." But he only comes out now when it's too late, when Craig's at his appeal, basically one more step until BSV is rolled out onto the world. And now he comes out of hiding. The timing is auspicious, right? And we have to ask, is it because he was under NDA, non-disclosure? Is it because he was part of the narrative? All I can say is Veritasium, the SEC doesn't go after random companies, right? The SEC doesn't go after every crap coin out there in the market. The SEC only goes for institutionally important infrastructure. The reason is because they want to regulate it. They know in the future, once they pass all the laws, all the crappy coins will just disappear ipso facto just from the regulations itself. There's no need to go after them and spend millions and billions, chasing some crap coin. They only go after the ones they want to regulate and use for the future. And I'll repeat that. They only go after coins they want to use in the future because they want to get that clarity on paper. So as an example, EOS. Few people realize EOS was one of the first coins prosecuted by the SEC. So people have to ask themselves, why did the USA go after this obscure coin called EOS? Well, to the normal person, it doesn't make sense. But when you understand that Proton is a fork of EOS, you realize, yeah, and that's why they did it. They went after EOS. They gave them clarity so that they could then fork it and create Proton.
What did
Because
they decide
they
on the
used
EOS case? What was the decision at the end? Do you
that,
remember?
that it was a security, and they had to pay a pissy fine, and that's it. They got clarity, and that's it. And
So
they
they're
did.
off. They're off the scot
They're
free
off
now.
scot-free.
Wow.
And so in the future, no one can then take Proton and say, hey, that's a security, because Proton will go, hey, we're a fork of EOS. We already got the outcome. It's all done. So the same thing with all these other coins that are implicated with the SEC, and even insignificant coins like Hex and Pulse Chain have a role because of the way smart contracts are built on their staking platform. But as an example, Veritasium was one of those ones. And Veritasium, like they went after because Veritasium will play a role in the new system somehow. He was kind of groomed or prepared to be the underdog, to be appearing like he's taking on the SEC, that he's fighting for freedom of patents. It's the same narrative that that they get these freedom fighters like Edward Snowden and all these people who actually are NSA contractors, and they're given an identity, and then they say, hey, play this role of being the freedom fighter, kind of like what they're doing to Trump now. They're saying, we want you to play this role that you're going to liberate America, and that you're going to you know, uh, you know, get rid of the central bankers and you're going to restore the economy. So they destroy the economy, then they resurrect it with their own hand, and they put these people to be the face of it so that you're like, like victory is coming back to America. So Reggie Middleton actually encapsulates that freedom fighting spirit for open and free patents. And his company Veritasium will probably be used in the new system somehow. But if you actually put Reggie Middleton in the gematria, it comes up with something like 666. So it's not supposed to say Reggie Middleton's a bad guy. It's just meant to be the hidden code that they use when creating these deep state agents. So they hire these contractors, and then they basically say, this is your new name, and and basically play this narrative. So, people will obviously disagree with what I think, and they'll say, well, we're just happy to have Reggie Middleton shilling BSV now. But the question is, why was Reggie Middleton so quiet all these years? We know he knew about patents way back. We know he knows about BSV's patents. We know he knew that many years ago, but yet he was decidedly quiet. But just as Craig Wright, and as we're reaching the end, now he starts to talk about how he loves BSV and the technology and blah, blah, blah. It's too convenient for a critical thinker. And for me, when I see someone emerge on the scene vociferously and voraciously, and suddenly on a flip of opinion, suddenly become vocal when he was quiet all this time, it's too convenient for me. And for me, it's a hard no. Sure, yeah, pump our bags, but people have to realize that the people who are in your face being prosecuted by the SEC, conveniently now talking about BSV, this is all no by accident. This is all coordinated.
And what about your thoughts on NChain and their big patent portfolio being, such a huge, being a huge force in the industry? They've been so quiet, right? I mean, they've been quiet as a mouse. We've never even heard from them.
Yeah.
Not one peep.
Yeah. So my view is the government can't go and create these patents under the NSA because there would be too much outroar. Could you imagine if we logged on the internet and we saw every single patent DeFi ascribed to the National, Security Agency? There would be it would be like a revolt.
I would object to that.
Yeah, everyone would be pissed. They would be like, well, you're clearly trying to control us. So what they do is, it's very clever. They create another entity and they call it NChain, or they call it Coinbase, or they call it Binance, or they call it whatever.
Facebook. We know they did Facebook, right? That was for sure.
Yep.
That was a DARPA.
Yep, same DARPA patents. And then what they do is they put all these patents in the name of the entity such that they make it look like it's some organic business. And then they'll say, this was created by the people to overthrow the central bankers, and therefore people are most likely going to use it. People aren't going to use it if all those patents are ascribed to the NSA or the CIA or the FBI or whoever's behind it. Because then people are like, no, this is clearly like a honeypot trap. So people are not aware that a lot of these companies in crypto are all deep state security agencies, three-letter agencies, and they're basically pulling our tugs, and they're basically trying to make it look like everything's happening organic, that there's a fight against decentralization, that Trump's going to liberate us, that Elon's going to liberate us, that any of these people are going to liberate us. And it's just all part of the plan. So that's basically my view, is that NChain, of course, has all those patents, but the question is, who is NChain? And who is behind NChain and who's funding NChain is the more important question.
Right.
than about the patents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know who. So, all right, Rick. Well, this is freaking a hugely valuable, show today. We got all the information on the KYC, the Proton stuff, the Proton XPR protocol that you talked about. The importance of KYC, and just a great summary about the patents. Even talked about Reggie Middleton from my show earlier today. So, where can people find you to get more information?
YouTube is CryptoCurrent, open brackets CryptoRick. You can also follow me on CryptoCurrent77 on Twitter. So at CryptoCurrent77.
Nice. All right, let's do it again sometime, Rick. It was great to see you. Okay. I
Definitely.
will
Thanks for
see
having me.
you at the top.